What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Humm Baby Baseball channel. My name is Eric, and today I'll be revealing my unofficial ballot for the 2024 Hall of Fame if I had a vote, which I don't. This is what my ballot would look like, and I'll get into all the details and my reasoning, but there's an unfortunate limit, which I disagree with, but it's the reality that you can only have 10 names on the ballot, and I'll be utilizing all 10 for my ballot this year, which I almost always end up doing. So first of all, shout out to all the new names on the 24 ballot. It's a great honor just to appear on a Hall of Fame ballot. Not only did you make it to Major League Baseball, but you had a long enough career that your name appears on the Hall of Fame ballot. You were good enough that you are going to be considered for the Hall of Fame. And the new names are, I'm going to give a shout out to all of these guys real quick: Jose Bautista, Adrian Beltre, Bartolo Colon, Adrian Gonzalez, Matt Holliday, Victor Martinez, Joe Mauer, Brandon Phillips, Jose Reyes, James Shields, Chase Utley, and David Wright. Then you have guys returning to the ballot who did not get voted for previously, but did get enough support, at least 5% of the vote, to return to the ballot. And I'm not going to mess around today. Let's get right into it and talk about some of the names that, to me, from the ones returning, I'm going to first pick out 4 or 5 names of the ones returning to the ballot who I know I'm putting on my ballot. I'm just straight up, they're going, and that's it. So that's going to make it easy. And the first guy I'm putting, the first name that I'm automatically putting on my ballot is Andruw Jones. This is his 7th year on the ballot, which is absolutely disgraceful. He has a higher WAR than any other returning name other than A-Rod and Manny Ramirez. And we know both of them had a little extra assistance. I'll be considering them a little bit later, but Jones was elite for a decade, offensively and defensively. How do you win 10 straight Gold Gloves and smash 434 home runs and not get in the Hall of Fame on your first freaking ballot? He had 10 straight Gold Gloves, and during that span never hit less than 26 home runs, and usually it was much more. He hit well over 30 multiple times. In 2000, he hit 51. 5-time All-Star, Silver Slugger Award winner, 2nd place for the MVP. He got Sporting News Player of the Year. This man needs in. Andruw Jones, the first guy I'm putting. And the next name that gets checked off on my ballot would be Todd Helton. He also had a clear Hall of Fame career. I think he gets some flack for the fact that he played in Denver. I totally disagree with that logic. Like, unless the guy completely sucked on the road, which is far from the truth. He was clearly better at home, but on the road he hit 287 with 142 home runs and an 855 OPS. He had a higher road OPS than many Hall of Famers, including Dave Winfield, Eddie Murray, Tony Gwynn, and many more. But the simple fact is that Denver has an MLB team. I'm not going to hold it against a player because he played on that team. I can't hold it against a player based on what team and stadium he played in during his career. But Helton hit well over 300 almost every year. Elite defense, 3 Gold Gloves, 369 bombs. I believe he'll make it this year, and he goes on my ballot for sure. And the third name I'm going to go with is a returning name, Carlos Beltran, who only got 46.5% of the vote last year. I think that had a lot to do with his involvement in the Astros cheating scandal, but he was a great player. And at the time that happened, he was a player, so he wasn't even officially punished, although he did get fired as the new manager of the Mets. But did he have a Hall of Fame career? 20 years in the big leagues, 9 All-Stars, Rookie of the Year, 3 Gold Gloves, 2 Silver Sluggers, and as far as the raw stats, how about 435 home runs, 350 on base, 837 OPS? Easily, yes. I mean, he's not the most automatic Hall of Famer of all time, but clearly he's a Hall of Famer, so Carlos Beltran goes on my ballot. And the next automatic name I have from the holdovers is going to be Billy Wagner, who had what I believe to be a clear-cut Hall of Fame career when you stack him up against the other Hall of Fame closers. Now, if no closers had ever gotten in, that's one thing, but several closers have gotten in. One of them is Bruce Sutter. If Bruce Sutter can get in with 300 saves and a 2.83 ERA, and I know he had a Cy Young and he was just elite for 3 or 4 years, but if he can get in with 300 saves and a 2.83 career ERA, how does Wagner not get in with 422 saves and a 2.31 career ERA, which that's phenomenal for a single season, much less an entire career. But the bottom line for Wagner is he was one of the most dominant relievers of all time, made 7 All-Stars, won the NL Reliever of the Year award. And the only thing that's kept him out is a poor postseason performance, which is definitely disappointing. But what's the bulk of a player's career? What do most players, what do we consider when we're putting them in the hall, when we're considering the Hall of Fame? We consider their regular season career, and the postseason is just a bonus, just extra. Sometimes that can put them over the top. But at the end of the day, many players are in who never even played in the playoffs. So Billy Wagner easily deserves in my opinion, so I got to put him on my ballot. Looking at the holdovers, those are the 4 automatics. So now I'm going to jump into the new names, just so I don't miss any automatics there before I go any further. So let's jump over there, and the first obvious 100% no-brainer is Adrian Beltre. So Adrian Beltre is my 5th guy I'm going to check off on the ballot. I mean, this is a dude with over 3,100 hits, nearly 500 home runs, 5 Gold Gloves. He finished in the top 10 for the MVP 6 times, including a 2nd place finish in 2004 when he smashed 48 bombs. He had simply a spectacular 21-year career that leaves no doubt. In fact, he's the most deserving of any player on the ballot this year. Let's just be honest. He should just waltz into the Hall of Fame with at least 95% of the vote. So I got to put Adrian Beltre on my ballot. And after that, as far as the newcomers, although he's not quite as obvious as Adrian Beltre, it doesn't take a whole ton of research to figure out that Joe Mauer is a Hall of Famer. So he will be my next name on the ballot. He was simply one of the greatest catchers of all time, defensively and offensively. During his prime, he led the league in batting average 3 out of 4 seasons. And in 2009, he had a season for the ages with an OPS over 1,000, a 365 average, and 28 bombs, taking home the AL MVP, 6-time All-Star, 5-time Silver Slugger. And he did eventually have to move to first base. And he wasn't as good towards the end of his career, which is normal, but he was still more than serviceable. He hit 305 and then 282 in his final 2 big league seasons in 2017 and 2018, respectively. And I'm not sure if he'll get in on his first ballot. I think it'll be close, but he's definitely on my ballot. So I'm very confident, and I feel really good about those 6 names. After that, for the next 4 spots, there are a whole lot more than 4 names that I think deserve serious consideration. So let me just put out the names of the remaining players that I would like to consider. So of the holdovers, we have Omar Vizquel, Andy Pettitte, Jimmy Rollins, Manny Ramirez, Alex Rodriguez, Gary Sheffield, Tory Hunter, and Bobby Abreu for 4 spots. And then of the newcomers, other than Mauer and Beltre, the only ones I would really consider would be Matt Holliday, Chase Utley, Adrian Gonzalez, and believe it or not, Big Sexy, Bartolo Colon. But with only 4 spots left, I think I'm going to hold off on any of the other newcomers because Utley was great, but he kind of dig into his stats. Less than 2,000 hits, no Gold Gloves, 275 career average, never finished higher than 7th for MVP. I'll look at him again in the future, but I think there's just too many names. There's too many other names that I think are more deserving. So I'm going to leave him off and pretty much all the newcomers other than Mauer and Beltre. So let's look at the holdover names that I just mentioned. There's one guy who people forget about, who won 9 Gold Gloves and had over 2,400 hits, but probably will never get in. And if I had an actual vote, his name is going next. For my 7th name, the comment section's about to get pissed off, but I don't care. Tory Hunter.
You serious?
This is a dude who quietly helped his team win games for 19 years. Like I said, 9 Gold Gloves. He was a human highlight reel. And Hunter could hit 2,452 hits and big power, at least 20 home runs 11 times. And he maxed out at 31 in 2006. I'm a Giants fan. Like we'll take one player who can hit 20 home runs. 20 home runs 11 times? And he's a 5-time All-Star, 2-time Silver Slugger Award winner, 195 steals. And while his name doesn't jump off the page as a Hall of Famer, I believe he's more deserving than someone like Chase Utley, whose name does kind of feel like, I would say, would get more support as a Hall of Famer. But Hunter had more hits, a higher average, and more home runs. And although they played different positions, he was clearly better defensively. At least as far as the awards go, 9 Gold Gloves. Then you have Jimmy Rollins, who won an MVP, but again, the overall numbers, I think Hunter was better. More home runs, better batting average. He's got an OPS 40 points higher. And when you add the 9 gold gloves to all that, I got to put Hunter on my ballot. So now we got 3 spots remaining. I got to start looking at some of these PED connected guys before I run out of spots, because for me, a PED connection or a failed steroid test doesn't mean automatic exclusion. I'm not one of those people, but I do try to give everyone else a fair shot at getting on the ballot first, because I do think that I'm going to hold it against you if you did steroids and I'm not really sure what your stats would have looked like without that extra help. Well, at least I'm going to hold off and put everyone else on first. And now that I only have 3 spots left, and now I'll look at those guys and compare them to who's left. And in this case, none of the other remaining names are really strong enough to keep some of these steroid guys off. And the big obvious name is A-Rod. And I'm going to give him my 8th spot. Alex Rodriguez, it's an interesting case. Unlike Bonds and Clemens, who, okay, most of us kind of know that they were juicers, but A-Rod actually failed a test. More than one, actually, and served a suspension. And I always ask myself, would this player have been a Hall of Famer had they never touched steroids? Sometimes I don't know. Like Jose Canseco, is like a guy who's got Hall of Fame type stats, but what if he never touched steroids? I'm not so sure he would have got those numbers. But for A-Rod, I believe he would have. I think A-Rod was a once-in-a-generation type talent. I think he would have easily hit over 500 home runs. I think he would have had a very worthy Hall of Fame career if he never touched steroids. And I'm not saying that means he should automatically get in. We still got to consider everything. But I think the extra help propelled him to hit 696 home runs, win 3 MVPs, and make 14 All-Star teams. But you cut those numbers down significantly, he still would get in. So he also won a couple Gold Gloves with the Rangers. So for me, A-Rod, look, he played in the era he played in. He got the extra help like many players did at that time. How many of them hit 696 home runs? So he was still one of the greatest of all time. And I personally never really liked him.
That piece of shit up there, I never liked him. I never trusted him.
But I do think that he deserves a plaque in Cooperstown. So I'm going to put him on my ballot because there's no one else who's left deserves it more from me. So A-Rod, number 8 on my ballot. And for the next guy, I'm going to consider Manny Ramirez, and I'm going to go ahead and check his name as well, because just like A-Rod, Manny played during the steroid era. He got busted for it, but Manny, he was just an extraordinary talent. He brought some fun and wackiness to the game for 19 years. He finished off his career with 555 home runs. Like A-Rod, I think he had the skill set to be a Hall of Famer, even if he never touched steroids. Although I can't say he would have hit 500 home runs. I think he would have hit 450 plus. And I've kept him off my ballot in the past when I had like Jeff Kent, Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Mark McGwire, Fred McGriff, etc. Had all these guys I had to put on. But now that they've finally fallen off the ballot and Fred McGriff got in, thank God, finally, thanks to the committee, I have a little extra room and I'm going to use it for Manny Ramirez. I'm putting him on my ballot. My last spot is a competition between Sheffield, Vizquel, Pettitte, and Rollins, all of whom I think deserve election. Vizquel will never get in, especially after some off-the-field accusations. But I do think if Ozzie Smith deserves to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, Vizquel certainly deserves to get in as well. But I only have 1 spot left. Gary Sheffield hit over 500 home runs, and it's his last year on the ballot. And I really would love to vote Sheffield. But there's one guy I've been putting on my ballot year after year, and I just can't leave him off. I'm putting him there again for my 10th name. I'm going with Andy Pettitte. My last name that I'm going to check, and he has a PED connection as well. He admitted to using some human growth hormone to help him recover from injuries. I do believe him in that he wasn't just constantly juicing throughout his career. I could be wrong, I don't know, but I do believe him, and I think most of his stats are genuine. He was fantastic for 18 years, 256 wins, 2,448 strikeouts. Now, his regular season career, it makes him a borderline case, and I probably would not have put him on my ballot, but this is a guy whose postseason career gives him that extra boost. And we're talking about someone who has more postseason wins than any other pitcher in MLB history. He's got the record. And he was instrumental in several postseason runs, including 1996, when he took that shutout into the 9th inning in Game 5 of the World Series against the Braves. He was the starting pitcher for 3 World Series clinchers in 98, 2000, and 2009. And during those games, he gave up just 3 earned runs in 20 innings. So for my 10th and final spot on my 2024 fake Hall of Fame ballot, I'm going with Andy Pettitte. So there you have it. That's my 2024 Hall of Fame ballot. Andruw Jones, Todd Helton, Carlos Beltran, Billy Wagner, Adrian Beltre, Joe Mauer, Tory Hunter, Alex Rodriguez, Manny Ramirez, and Andy Pettitte. Let me know where you agree, where you disagree. And I know no one's going to have the exact same ballot. Although if you do, let me know and we can be friends. So if you want my actual opinion on what will happen, I predict only Adrian Beltre and Todd Helton get in. I think Joe Mauer will be close, but I think he'll fall a little short, but he might make it. And the 4th guy I think who has an outside chance would be Billy Wagner. So I would, if I was to predict though, I think only Helton and Beltre make it. But have a great day, guys. Let me know what you think, and we'll talk to you in the next video.